Hey, everybody. Welcome to this panel. I was just dancing to the intro music. Um, this is collaborating across borders. If that doesn't sound correct, hang out. What are you doing? You're at home. Watch our panel. It's awesome. This will be, as I stated on Twitter, the best panel ever, and you're all a big part of that. So we got Adriana watching the chat and comments. Please feel free to put your questions in there. But why don't we start with some introductions of these amazing speakers that we have today? We'll go around, and since we're not at a table, I'm going to call on somebody, and then that person calls on the next person, and so on and so forth. And I will start with Adrian Mejia. Please introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about you.
Hi everyone, I'm Adrian Mejia. He has Latin Nerd and on Blue Sky. I don't remember what my handles on other social media are because I barely use them, although I probably should start using other things. Um, I am the creative director on the Koboa project, 5e and other setting on another systems fantasy setting based on South America. I'm also a bit of a designer, and I'm really passionate about getting South American stuff into the TTRPG space. I'm from Ecuador.
Very cool.
Oh, and I need to call on someone. How about Oli?
Sure. Hi. Thank you. I am Polita. Most people just call me Poli. I am a trans designer from Argentina. Uh, if you've heard of any of my games, it was probably Cantrip and Rad, two games that I will be talking about in the panel because they're both very good examples of collaborating across borders. And yeah, happy to be here. I will be calling on Wendy.
Hey everyone, I'm Wendy Yu. I am a travesti writer from Northeast Brazil. I make things with words and pictures in TTRPGs. That mostly means I am a writer, designer, and layout artist. I also am doing a PhD in contemporary culture and communications. And I also work as a sensitivity reader and as an editor. So I think that's it. And now I call on Lucas.
Hi everyone, my name is Lucas Conte. I am a game designer and from Brazil. My biggest work is Mojubá, a Afrofuturistic game. I'm right now I work as an assistant editor on Indivisível Press. It's a company from Brazil, and I'm really happy to be here. I work as a collaborator on Koboa too.
Thank you so much, Lucas. And everyone, thank you. As I mentioned before, I'm Sean Banerjee. I'm at Sean Banerjee everywhere. And I'm fortunate enough to get to work on Koboa with these lovely people, kind of on the back end. And I'm elsewhere doing other things. I'm hosting panels. Come on, keep up. Uh, let's dive in. This is much different without like a live audience to kind of laugh at my bad jokes. Um, so if you guys can just look like you're laughing, that's perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
We can laugh.
Okay. I don't, if it's not funny, that's fine. Just pretend for me. For me.
I'm so good at pretending to laugh. I do it at work all the time.
That's all I ask. Well, so let's jump into this. I know that we only have 50 minutes or so, less than now. We have a few questions to go through. Please, please jump in the chat, and our chat moderator will send us anything you guys got. But we'll start here. And I'll remind our panelists, not everybody has to answer every question. It's totally okay. But why?
Sorry,
What?
we have a dengue pandemic
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
no.
So even the
Kill those.
slightest hint of mosquito is just means violence.
Yeah, I support this violence. I don't support all violence, but I support this. But let's start with this. Let's start with why collaborate across borders. I mean, what's the point? Can I not just hire people who live in the same country as me? Or is that not enough? Does anybody want to jump in at the top? Otherwise, I'm going to make Adrian do it because he's the person I'm picking on. All right, Adrian, why are we collaborating? We do it a lot on Kaboa. We have 900 collaborators in different countries, I think.
Yeah, we actually have collaborators from every country in South America, well, almost every country in South America. I didn't quite get to the colonies, but yeah, we have had a lot of collaborators at Gaboa. And one thing I can say right from the bat is just that this is a creative space. You know, TTRPGs are a space where you want creativity, and creativity comes from life experience. It comes from different perspectives, and and all of that is built into people being from other parts of the world. People in other parts of the world have different perspectives, different ideas, different ways of doing things, and have so much value to add to a project just from that. On top of that, so many people want to just work with people in the global north, people in their own country, that there are tons of incredible, brilliant people out there that are not getting the amount of work that they deserve, who are free right now to work on your project and add so much value to it for a price that they deserve. So pay them a good price. But they're just ready and rearing to do amazing things for you, and they're just not getting contacted because so many people are scared of working with people across from them, or they don't know how to connect to them, or how to pay them, or how to be in contact with them.
Well, fair. That jumps into some of the perceived roadblocks, and we'll talk a little bit about how to get around those as well. But a plurality of perspectives is always a good choice.
Yeah, I
Does
think
anybody else have?
that point is an important one. I always find that there are some things that are kind of obvious to some of us from the global south that somehow to people from the global north are not that obvious, and having that plurality of perspectives in any project is always going to be a plus. It's always going to bring uh, something better to the table. But also, I think that's there's a question of a kind of reparations too. Like,
Yeah.
once upon a time, you guys kind of took to your boats and kind of colonized the whole world and made it underdeveloped us. And now we're here. And for example, we don't have access to Kickstarter to make our own Kickstarters. And that's totally related to our position as quote unquote third world nations and our position in the global south. The global south is only the global south because the north established itself as the center economically, and that only is possible because of the exploitation of our lands and peoples, and that goes a long way historically, and on and on and on. So I think there's a question of reparations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The Kickstarter thing is a huge issue for us. The way I see it, there's three main types of obstacles in cross-border collaboration, which are linguistic, financial, and logistical. And Kickstarter is basically both financial and logistical. Uh, as you may be aware or not, anybody from any country can actually pledge to a project on Kickstarter, but you can only run a campaign if you're from a certain pretty small subset of countries. Which, if you look at the map, it's the same map every single time. It's just North America, Europe, and then countries that are either physically close to the global north, like Mexico, or countries that are fully enmeshed into global capitalism, like Singapore. So if you're from Brazil, if you're from Ecuador, if you're from Argentina, you have to look for other opportunities, which may come in the form of either alternative crowdfunding platforms which I've had some experience with, as I've recently finished a successful campaign using the site Crowdfunder, who have been very good to us. It worked very well. It was very easy to manage, but there's like an undeniable reality that it just does not have the same visibility as Kickstarter does, because it has like a near monopoly on the crowdfunding scenario, let's say. And otherwise, your alternative is to have a benefactor, so to speak, who can actually run the campaign for you, and that's another huge logistical barrier.
And there's a
Yeah.
reason too why, for example, oh, I'm sorry, just
No,
to
no, you can
uh,
finish.
there's a reason why, for example, we to reach a global audience, we have to make our games in English, and we're having this panel in English, and so on. So yeah, there's all these other uh, imperial consequences that affect us and that we're subjected to.
Yeah, I think mostly the language barrier, it's something that kind of always pissed me off, because for everything that we have to make, we gotta to translate it to English so people can see us, because no one is after, Latin creators from if they don't write in English. So it was it is a very big deal, the language barrier. Uh, right now, I don't know if it's a good thing for me to say this here, but Wizards of the Coast didn't discontinued the Magic and D&D
Mhm.
setting in Portuguese here in Brazil. So it's just like we just was waiting for more products and to trying to engage more on the community. Mostly Magic community here in Brazil is very big, but now we don't have the cards in Portuguese anymore. You know, we won't have a next D&D edition in Portuguese anymore, and a lot of people may just say, it's okay, we got our own games, but I think it's most because the way they look at us, like they are just some Brazilians, and we just have to stop sending them our products. So the language barrier, it's a big factor, and I think most people should work across borders so we could, I don't know, work around this all this language stuff. It's like in the when Parasite won the Oscars, and the director said, if you just could break this barrier of subtitles, man, you would know just so many cool stuff. So I think it's meant for you guys with everything that's been said before here in this panel. But I think it's an opportunity for you guys to know some cool stuff too. Some cool aspects of the culture, some out of the box, out of the norm kind of a way of thinking and writing and speaking and so on.
True. And I think that's something that maybe potential clients and designers from the US, Europe, whatever, the global north might also be, asking themselves at this point is, why are you, looking for foreign investment in a way, instead of, just selling within your country, within your region? And that's something that might escape their knowledge, and it's not really their fault. But even though the cost of TTRPG production is globalized, the cost of paper, shipping, software, art is pretty much the same across all countries, because it's all kind of dependent on global shipping costs and the cost of oil and fuel and whatever. Our salaries, and most of us have like a normal day job that we work at beyond our TTRPG work. We get paid in pesos or reais and other types of monopoly money in comparison to US dollars. And the market in our countries is much, much smaller and has a lot less money to spend on something that is often perceived as frivolous, like TTRPGs. It's very hard to convince somebody in a South American country that your PDF file is worth 5, 10, 15 US dollars. It's a huge commitment. So it makes sense for us to look for that American or European market, and access to that market is often very literally gatekept because it's hard for us to access due to linguistic, financial, and logistical barriers.
Sense. Hipólita, what would you say that the buying power of $5 to $15 US is where you're at?
Well, my country is, I guess, kind of a special case at this point because we are in the deep recession, deep devaluation, and
That's fair. That's fair.
at
Maybe a
this
more
point,
typical time.
yeah, but at this point, $10 is I don't know. It's like I don't know, 2 kilos of like high quality beef, for instance. It's 8 liters of fuel for my motorbike or whatever. It's a
I was just
huge
looking it up
number.
right now. Looks like in Argentina, average monthly wage is $200 per month.
That sounds about right. Minimum wage is somewhere like $90 a month.
So that's 5% of
Um,
the monthly average, which in the US is 5,500. So
Sure.
that would be like the equivalent of buying something that costs about $1,000. Is that right?
Basically, yeah, like $1 is 1,000 pesos, and 1,000 pesos is 1 liter of fuel. It's
Not 1,000, but 200.
less than a bag of rice. So yeah,
in
any
Brazil,
like I always say, like every US dollar goes a very long way.
yeah, in Brazil, $10 would be like 50 reais, and that's like a day minimum wage, I think, roughly.
Yeah,
I
kind
mean,
of like
$10 a day is a good metric, right? We can
Hmm.
our global North audience, for those people who are in states like myself, could kind of visualize what $10 a day kind of looks
Yeah.
like. Lucas, I
Like
apologize.
when someone buys a PDF of my game, I can like buy groceries.
Yeah.
yeah. When like someone, I finish writing something, and it's, I don't know, 10 cents of dollar the word. I mean, sometimes it's just basically, if I write a lot, it's basically minimum wage here in Brazil. Just from
Mhm.
write some article in English. So it's crazy, man. $20 is a lot of money, because the minimum wage is like here in Brazil is like $250, I think, $260, I think. So it's a good chunk of money, honestly.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. We have a question from the chat, but before we dive into that, I do have one more question on this. Lucas, do you know how much a pack of magic cards costs, like a booster pack? Where you're at?
Let me see, because that's been some years I don't buy any magic
Ah,
booster pack, honestly.
You kicked the habit, I see.
but
Good man.
I
let me
do
check.
have updated prices for that because I have a friend who runs a magic shop, and they're doing a pre-release event.
Yeah.
Which is 6 packs, and that's going to be $55, which is just not a reasonable expense at all.
Yeah, especially at $200 a month income. Is that what you said,
That was
Andre?
like a quarter of your income right there. Yeah.
Yep.
That's wild. Okay, we do have a question from the chat that I want to make sure we answer, and I think it segues nicely. We've talked a number of reasons why you should, a number of the barriers that are in place. So, what's the best way to find folks who are in South America or maybe in the global South, other places, to work with? What's Adrian, we've done a bunch of this on Kuboa, and by we I mean you. You've done a bunch of this on Kuboa. So let's start there. What's the best way to find people who aren't in, like, they're not showing up at the same conventions we are. They're not coming to Big Bad Con in person, most likely. Hopefully they can make it. But yeah, how do we find these people?
So some people I found to collaborate with on Koboa by just organically being on social media, following, whenever I saw a creator from the global south, I'd automatically follow them. And then whenever they recommended other creators, I'd follow them and kind of like build a network that way. But honestly, I recommend, like, every once in a while, what I do is I just go to Twitter and like search like Illustrator and then put a country name in there, and find people from that country that way. Frequently, they'll do like a portfolio day where they'll say like, "Hi, I'm X from country X, and here's my portfolio." So you can frequently easily find people from other countries just by searching them up on Twitter. ArtStation has like a search by country function.
Mhm.
Um, it's a lot easier, I think, to find artists than it is to find like writers or designers, because for writers or designers, you need to read what they're saying, and if they're talking in a different language, you might not be able to. But I still think that just searching like TTRPG Brazil, TTRPG whatever country, can get great results in social media because people are putting themselves out there. They're just not being found or seen
Yeah.
as much because they don't show up in the top of the search.
I
I
think
can also, yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
no, I was gonna say Discord is also a good platform. There's the Latam RPG server that has a lot of creators from Latin America.
Mhm.
And also, I think following people that are already known on social media, like, us, and then you see who we are promoting, who we are following, that are also from Latin America. Also, you can check the creator list in Koboa because it's chock full of
It is
people from
massive.
all
Yeah.
over the continent.
We did the work for you. It's in the credits.
Right.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a whole chapter with just bios of everyone, so you can use that to find people.
Yeah, Adrian found me because one of illustrators from Koboa worked on my game Mojuba, so we kind of made the link. But because
Mm.
creative work, you never do anything alone, so it's nice to have a nice net of people from the global south. And honestly, nowadays it's may seem difficult to contact everyone, but it's a lot easier because a lot of people on our scene are pretty accessible. Even the most famous one, they are not like movie famous, they are RPG famous. So it's different. You can talk to them, they will talk back they will speak with you. They
They're
will
just
share with
nerds.
you. Yeah, just a bunch
Yeah.
of nerds, so it's easy to do everyone, speak with everyone.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can
for
also get
example,
in
oh,
touch.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. You can also get in touch with certain small press publishers who have a history of not only working with global south creators but also making us a priority when looking for talent. Like, I can personally recommend my experience working with Soul Muppet Games, with Plus One Experience. Both have been fantastic experiences. They've been extremely helpful and kind to me, always offering me stuff to do. And they keep like a pretty large folder of creators from the global south that they reach out to when they need work. And they always need work because they both put out like a huge volume of games. And also our Rook Studio, who put out Moonlight on Roseville Beach. I have not worked with them, but I know that they have like extremely good relationships with Global South TTRPG talent. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely look for publishers who do that already.
I was gonna say something about some of it exactly
Our friends.
because me and Polly, we published our games through their Latam Breakout Kickstarter, and they reached us, and I think that if you wanna do something like that, you gotta put on the work. You gotta go after people, even if it's like, oh, I can't find people. It's hard, but you gotta go after that. Like I had only at that moment I had not even published my zine through Exalted Funeral. It was only a PDF on Itch. It wasn't even released. And they contacted me because they saw it and they wanted to do something with me. And because they wanted to already uh, help Latin American voices. Um, and I already had signed a contract with Exalted Funeral, but I said, "Oh, but I already have another game in the works," and they remembered that. And when they had the Latin Breakout project, they called me, and it worked. So, and the whole Kickstarter was for not only Latin American creators but newcomers.
Yeah.
I think that's important too. Um, Also,
Yeah.
not only Latin American creators, but queer Latin American creators and with other intersectionalities. Because, and that's something that's really important. Like people from the global South are people. They have other stuff going on in their lives. Something that I always think about is that most of the people I see from Brazil in TRPG spaces are white guys, cis white guys. And okay, for gringos, they might be Latinos, but here they're super privileged, right? And I think it's really important to raise other voices. I don't recall seeing any black women from Brazil in TTRPG spaces, for example, right? And that's kind of really something to do with which voices are being heard, right? And which voices are being raised. And while I can tell like 10 names of white dudes out of the top of my head. So I
That's
don't
not
know.
fair.
I
They're all
think
named Chris.
no, not in Brazil. But yeah, not that those guys don't deserve the recognition. They're awesome, but just saying that it's not because we're in the global South that we don't have other intersectionalities going on here. You know, it's not enough to just think of us as, oh, they're Latinos. We are raising Latino voices. It's enough, you know.
There's so in the last couple of years since Kaboa has kind of come on the scene, I know that Adriana and I have gotten a number of people who've asked us, how do you reach out to creators in the global South? Essentially the same question, but a lot of the times it's very like checking a box, right? They're like, oh, I have a thing. It's inspired by Mexico. You know people who speak Spanish. And it was just like, that's a lot of to okay.
Unpack.
Well,
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I
So
think
as a publisher, I would encourage people who are looking to find creators from the global South. One, plug into the communities where they're communicating, right? As we talked about with social media and Discord, and then once you've met Lucas, he'll introduce you to his friends, and that's all you really need. Just him and his friends. That's it. No, and it gives us a better product as publishers to have more diverse voices. It also uh, it maybe addresses a little bit of the reparations that Wendy was bringing up earlier, uh, but it's nowhere near as difficult as you think it is. And I would like to take that moment to transition into like let's talk about some of these logistical barriers or perceived barriers, right? How do we pay people in the global south, Adrian? Do we have to mail them pesos? Is that what I'm doing? Is that I'm can I Wendy, can I just mail you pesos? Is that how I pay you? In the do you have
No,
a
you have
post
to do a
office?
blood sacrifice to a
Oh, good.
foreign
That's
god.
um but no, yeah, how do we pay people? What are these kind of logistical considerations? Adrian.
Bananas.
So,
All people in
the
South
bananas
America
bag.
need is potassium.
No, yeah, I would like to add, Polly, you mentioned the different barriers that can be up. You mentioned financial, logistical, and linguistic.
Yeah,
I think there's also the barrier of, I don't know what to call it, like convenience or ease of access. Because I think it
sure.
is a real
Yeah,
thing to consider. Like Sean said, it's not as much work as it seems like, but it is a little more work to find somebody that you're not already connected to, that you might need like searching on social media or something to find. It might be a little more effort to figure out a new pay way to pay them and stuff. But again, it's like 100% worth it. Like you will get more the value that the effort you put into it, you will get it back and more, because there are amazing people in the global south that are not being capped. Um, but anyway, yeah, in terms of payments for Koboa so far, we have had a few different payment methods. Some people will take PayPal. They can tell you why or no, why not. It's easier. Well, I might not be able to pull money out of it. Some contributors have said like, yeah, what you pay me, I only use it to buy TTRPG books because I can't get that money out of PayPal. Um, we have also used a couple of services, including one called World Remit and one called Wise, to wire money to pay money directly into people's bank accounts. The way that works is, once you've decided you want to work together, you can go into the website and say, I want to send money to a person in Brazil, and it'll ask you, like we need their address, we need their name, we need their bank account, bank number, etc. And then you ask the person that info, you plug it in, get it charged to your debit or credit card, and they will get that money in 3 to 5 business days, usually faster. I do recommend. We were using World Remit at first, but now almost only use Wise. I check every time to see what their fees are like, and 100% of the time since we started using Wise, it has cost us less and paid the contributor more. So I do recommend Wise a lot.
yeah, I've had a lot of success with Wise. And I also started using a service called Payoneer because it's one of the two services that are automatically linked with an Itch account. You can have your Itch money sent to your PayPal account or to your Payoneer account. PayPal is very difficult to use in Argentina. Getting that money out of PayPal, turning it into like real pesos that you can spend on groceries is difficult. We also do not have access to Venmo or Cash App. So Payoneer has been very good for me. They give you like a proper USA account number and tracking number. So getting paid by US based clients, it's very, very easy. You just need to give them those two numbers and they can just wire the money. Same way they would wire money to an actual American person. And getting that money out of Payoneer is also pretty easy. So that has been very helpful.
Yeah,
For
Yeah,
I
me here in Brazil. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I only use PayPal, but it's like Polly said, it's a little bit difficult to get the money out because sometimes you got to wait some, I don't know, 12 business days from the money enter your account. With me, at least, uh, it was a little bit complicated, but it worked. Just have to be a little patient. But I will certainly search another alternatives, mainly that they were the ones that were said here.
I
if you're
here
looking to
in
collaborate with
Brazil,
someone, go
I
ahead.
only use what?
I was just saying, go ahead. Sorry, because we talked at the same time.
No, I was gonna say that I also use PayPal here in Brazil. I didn't check Wise. I think I should check it. Uh, Payoneer, actually, I tried it and I saw the taxes were a little bit uh higher than PayPal, so that's why I kept using PayPal, because I didn't actually have the problem with having to wait so much. But if I ever start
Yeah.
having those issues,
Yeah, it's
I
probably a
will.
me thing, It's just sometimes probably problems with my bank, I assume.
But
So yeah,
actually, pretty easy. Just PayPal us, and we'll get the money. Please
I
do
wanted to
PayPal
say
us.
if you're in the global south, get yourself a Payoneer account if you can, because it is really easy in the global north to just transfer money to a Payoneer bank. If you're in the global north, figure out how to use like Wise to transfer money directly into their bank account and offer it to them. Like they might not know that it is a possibility to do that, but being able to say like, like I could in theory put it in your bank account if you give me these informations, and they will be very grateful to you. But also, if you're paying somebody in the global south, please try to like be the one that pays the fee.
Yeah.
Like most contributors will take that damage for you. They'll be they'll end up paying that fee, but please just put in the extra money so that they get exactly what you agreed on and not what you agreed on minus the fee.
Yeah, I think we talked. We talked
We lose
about
a
the
lot
impact.
on fees.
Yeah,
Yeah,
talked
we
about the
love
impact
to
of it.
fees. Yeah, especially with the way Itch works. Like, if your country does not have a tax agreement with the US, Itch has by law, they have to withhold 30% of your earnings in taxes. So yeah, like every $10 PDF that I sell on Edge becomes something like $6 or $7 in my Payoneer account.
Are
So
there
yeah, that's
are there more fees from Payoneer to being able to use that in your day-to-day life?
no. Once it's in Payoneer, the fees are minimal. Like here in Argentina, you have to send the money to a service called an exchanger, where people who they usually work with like cryptocurrencies and stuff like that, but they also operate with Payoneer, Wise, whatever, and that's like another 5 to 7% more that is just gone in fees. But
So
yeah, the
it might
Just
biggest
be
to
fee is
exchange
the itch
from
fee.
dollars to pesos.
That makes sense.
Come again?
I was mostly just making sounds to myself while I was thinking. Sorry. All right, so we talked a little bit about how to get people paid, how to find people. What about the language considerations? I don't speak Spanish or Portuguese or any other language that is predominant in South America other than English, and yet we've managed to work together through Adrian, but we've done it. So how do Adrian as a publisher, right? What's the best way to kind of approach hiring people who don't speak the same language as you?
I think that
So
yeah. Go ahead.
oh no, go ahead. Okay, sure. I think there's definitely difficulties there. That's just another barrier that like people get in the way. And there it does help to like have somebody in the project who is multilingual to serve as like a bridge with people. Um, for our project, luckily that is me. But like I can say like Goboa is 30% written in not English. And then I went through and translated the parts that I felt comfortable translating. I have paid people to translate other parts. Wendy translated one part about gender and sexuality that I did not feel equipped to translate. Um, and you did an amazing job. But yeah, that's another thing to consider too. Is even if you're working with a writer or a designer who doesn't speak English, you can still get amazing work out of them if you can find somebody to translate their work. It can be a little more. It can take a little more time, but I think it's definitely worth it. Again, for like perspectives.
Yeah, in
We're saying something
Koboa.
funny.
Sorry, Polly, you
Oh,
can go on.
Okay, I was just going to say that the language issue is maybe the one thing where that's more on us, like especially those of us who are bilingual or nearly bilingual, to act as ambassadors and representatives to the people that we know that don't speak English all that well. I think that when you're from the global south, your English level corresponds directly to how much of an online weirdo you were in your teens.
Yeah.
And that's an economic class issue. It depends on whether you had internet as a child and a teenager, and that's not the case for everybody. And so, yeah, that's something that those of us who are fortunate enough to grow up learning English, like immersed in English, we have to make the effort to lift up and help those who don't know as much. Especially because so much of TTRPG discourse and discussions and like historic blog posts or even a lot of games are only in English. Like if you like the OSR and you cannot read the Alexandrian, you might be at a disadvantage when it comes time to design, because that is like such a valuable resource that you might be locked out of.
Yeah, in the first draft that I write for Koboa, I think it was in Portuguese, but later I decided to try to wrote it in English, you know. But what Polly said is very, very true, because the English levels here in South America, it's directly correlated with the education level, you know, in the sense of how much you were able to afford some English courses, or how much online you were, you know. And here in Brazil, 15 years ago, internet wasn't that spread, that normal like it's today. So I think that reflects a lot on our English levels. But yeah, this is the I think it's the number one thing that I see as the biggest barrier on working with people from the global north, you know, when they contact us. Because even if yeah, I can speak English on a okay level, I am not comfortable with writing in English, you know. And sometimes I cannot express myself. Some things that it's because I don't know the how can I say, but the poetry is everything that is lost in translation, you know. So basically, we lost a lot of stuff in on the
Yeah.
process.
I mean, translation as almost as an art form requires an understanding of the cultural context of the language, right?
Mhm.
Even
And I am
amongst
available.
yeah, Wendy's available, y'all. Wendy's available. If you need somebody to translate something to like American Southern, like to cowboy talk, I got you. I can do that. But if you need someone to translate, Wendy, what languages?
Portuguese and English.
Portuguese, English. There you go. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of our time, so I do want to give everyone a chance. Let us know who you are and where we can find you. Those communities that we want people to plug into, and what's coming up. Give us a thing that we can go support you with. And oh right, we're not at a real table this time. We'll start with Hippolyta, because I like saying Hippolyta's name. And then
Thank you. You're doing a very good job of pronouncing it too.
oh, thank you. And then I'll let her pick on somebody else.
Sure. So you can find me on itch as hippolyta.itch.io and on Twitter at its_Hippolyta. It's Hippolyta. I'm going to try to be more active on co-host, on threads, whatever. And yeah, look forward to my next release. That is a collaboration with Armanda, who is a solo games designer from Argentina. We're doing a game called From Midgard to Eternity, a Neon Viking solo journaling RPG that I'm very excited about. And I also have like a ton of personal projects in the oven that I think if I had to call out one of them, it would be a game that is inspired very much by the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series of games. A game about having a lot of homies and going disco dancing. So yeah, kicking it over to Lucas.
Okay, I mean, my biggest project it's Mojuba. It's probably going on English soon, so you can. But right now you can find us on Instagram. It's Mojuba underline RPG. Just give us a follow there. And my upcoming project it's Full Metal Cria. It's a game about the 2000s that never were. You know, it's a game about like these collectionable toys slash anime that were made for selling toys like Beyblade or Medabots or Pokemon, Digimon, but with small robots, you know. So I'm finishing the game. This deadline is killing me, if I can be honest. But it will be soon be released. You can find in Instagram too. Full Metal Cria, Full Metal Cria on Instagram, and you can find me on Twitter. Arroba, how do I say arroba in English?
At
At,
Uh,
okay. At Conchiota. You can find me on Twitter. And I'm Wendy. You go now.
well, you can find me on itch at wendyu.itch.io. You can find my page at wendyu.card with double r.co. On Twitter at underscore d underscore u, like Wendy with an underscore in the middle. And Wendy on Tumblr, Wendy U also. You can find my next work on Koboa and the Between the Skies hardcover by Huffa on Exalted Funeral, out like in June, I think. And Death Games by Laurie O'Connell that funded recently on Zine Month. And also my game Here There Be Monsters just went to second printing with a bigger run. So go run to grab yours because we have lots of copies to sell. And right now I'm working on my next game. It's the biggest thing I've ever done. So I'm working with two other writers and designers, and it's like Evangelion slash Lovecraftian pastiche. And I'm doing my take on a game that traumatized me when I started playing. And that's it. And
I
go
guess I'm
Adrian.
That's fine.
Play yourself.
I'm Adrian Mejia. Yeah, I'm Latin Nerd on Twitter and Blue Sky, and my main project right now is Kaboa, the 5e slash Pathfinder 2 slash Black Flag fantasy setting in South America. And you can find information about that in kaboasetting.com, where every single person in this panel has collaborated in it and done an amazing job. So definitely find us there.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Thank you to all of the panelists and to Felix and Adriana in the background, as well as those of you who are in chat. I'm Sean Banerjee. I normally plug Kaboa, but we did that a bunch. Thanks so much.
Will everyone
Thank
be at
you.
the Discord?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be in
I'll be
the
there.
post. Awesome.
So if you want more information or more resources, come check out the Discord channel. The Big Bad has so helpfully put together for us. I'm sure there's a link to that somewhere available to you. All right, I think we're just sitting here. Now we're just done. I don't know. Felix, help us.
I think we have to like wait another 40 seconds.
I'm available for work.
I'm available for work as well.
Me too.
Felix says to wait. Felix says we're waiting for 40 seconds.
I'm tired. I got bored.